Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lauren and welcome to Intuitive Reading. Today we are going to talk about the books that I read in February, so this is my February wrap-up. So I actually read a lot more books in February than I thought I did. When I sat down and looked at my notes and looked over the reviews and everything from Goodreads, I actually had read a lot more than I thought I did in February. For some reason, I did not feel like I read as much in February. And so here we are. So I'll start out with some of the American Girl books, doing the American Girl book tag that I posted last time. I will link that down below, but that really made me want to go back and read some of the books. I never really read a lot of the books when I was younger, so I started with Molly's stories, and I got this bind up at the library. You can kind of see that, but this has all of Molly's books in it, and it's kind of a collection. And so I got this and I started with the first book. So Meet Molly is the first book. And this book I gave 5 stars. I really, really enjoyed this. So you're kind of introduced to Molly's family, and it was just a wholesome, entertaining story. I really enjoyed learning about Molly and her family and all the shenanigans that her and her siblings got into and her friends. I'm really, really enjoying her time period in history. So Molly is an American girl from the 1940s, so during World War II, which makes a lot of sense because you guys know my love of World War II historical fiction. So I am really enjoying Molly's stories and kind of learning what life was like during that time, especially as kind of a preteen teenager, to see what it was like in the life of a child back then. So really enjoyed that story, and if I didn't say it, I gave that 4 stars. The next book I read, I actually DNF'd this book. This is The Measure of a Lady by Deanne Gist. And like I said, I've read Deanne Gist before. Gist, I don't know how to say her name. But anyway, I have read some of her books before and really liked them. But this one, I was just bored. I was really bored with this, and I got maybe like a couple of chapters into it, and I was like, this is just not for me. I did try listening to it on audiobook, but I don't know, something about the story, I was just really bored, and I DNF'd it pretty early on. So the next book is Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. This book I really enjoyed. I actually was not expecting to enjoy this book. I was afraid I was not going to like it. I was afraid it was going to be boring. But I actually did like this book. I did not give it a rating just because I feel like this is more nonfiction, so I did not give this a rating, but I did really enjoy this. I did get some good things out of it. I did tap it up a little bit. So yeah, I would highly recommend this book. The next book that I read was another Molly story, Molly Learns a Lesson. And this book, I gave 4 stars as well. I really enjoyed this one because I felt like it was sort of relatable with Molly being put on the spot in class, and she gets really nervous and she kind of messes up what she's supposed to say. And I just found that really relatable because I always hated being put on the spot in class. And especially like in chorus or when I was supposed to give a report or anything like that, I just always would just freeze and forget what I was supposed to say, or my voice would get really shaky. So I just felt like it was really relatable. And I liked that her class was supposed to come up with a class project. It was the boys versus the girls, and they were supposed to come up with a project. And I really liked that even though they didn't all agree on what the project should be, they ultimately ended up talking about their ideas and giving input, and ultimately they kind of came to a compromise, and they were able to work together to accomplish the project. So I really liked that aspect of this story. I think I have talked about this series before, but I have actually read the first 3 books in this series. I've read them before, and I wanted to do a reread because I really want to read this whole series, so I'm kind of binging them. But this is the Unfailing Love series by Mandy Blake. And so far I've read, sorry, I have these out of order. There we go. So, I have books, have 0.5, 1, 2, and 3 are the ones that I have read so far. Books 0.5, 1, and 2 are ones that I previously read and enjoyed, but I wanted to continue on in this series and I could not remember what happened. These follow different couples, and they're all friends and they're all interconnected. But you can read them as standalones. You do not have to read them in order. It kind of helps me to read them in order just because there are previous couples. The couples that are mentioned in the first couple of books are mentioned in the subsequent books. So it does kind of help to have read the other books, but you don't have to. So I have really enjoyed my reread of these. The first 3 books especially are my favorites, are some of my favorites. I say the first 3 books, 0.5, 1, and 2 are some of my favorites. Book 3, called Living Hope, this one was not one of my favorites, unfortunately. I don't know why. There's just something about it that I don't know if it was the couple in this book or the storyline. I'm not really sure, but I did not enjoy this one as much as I did the others. And I should have said the books in this series, the prequel book is called 1,000 Words. This is book 0.5. The first book is Just As I Am. The second book is Never Say Goodbye. And the third book is Living Hope. And these books are the large print editions. And I really liked these covers, the floral covers. I really, really liked these. I wanted these covers instead of the covers with the people on the front. So I got these, and I've just really enjoyed this series. Mandy Blake usually writes cowboy romances, but this is not a cowboy romance series. This is like a small town series, and it's about different couples that live in the small town, and they're all kind of like friends or interconnected. So I've really enjoyed it so far. And most of these books, so the prequel book and the first 2 books I gave 4 stars, and the third book, Living Hope, I gave 3 stars. Again, it was a good book. I did enjoy it. I just didn't like it as much as the previous ones. Okay, the next book I read was a book on my phone from BookFunnel. This one was called Princess of the Night, and this was kind of a medieval fantasy book. It is Christian, and this was by Delina Taylor, and I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars. So what I liked about this book is that it was about Princess Scarlet, and she rescues the Night Prince Nikolai. So I really liked that it was not the typical damsel in distress storyline. The male was the one that needed saving, and the female saved him. So I really liked that. That was kind of a nice twist. And so Scarlet's father imprisoned Nikolai, and he didn't really have a good reason. Pretty much anything can be considered treason by the king, and so he imprisoned Nikolai and left him for dead. So Scarlet is secretly training to become the most feared swordsman in the land, and she is known as the Blood Knight, but people don't know that it's her. They think the Blood Knight is this like fierce warrior, and they don't know that it's her. So that's kind of like a really cool surprise and kind of a cool twist. So I really like that aspect, and so she ends up saving Nikolai, of course, and it was just a really good story. My only complaint with it is that it wasn't long enough. Like, I would love to have seen the story continue. It was like a short novella, but I did really enjoy it for what it was. So that was that book. The next book I read, this was a library book, Castle of Refuge by Melanie Dickerson. This is the second book in the Daracot Tales series, and this was a fairy tale retelling of The Ugly Duckling. And I really, really enjoyed this. I did not expect to like this book as much as I did. The first book, I don't remember what it's called, but the first book in this series, I think I gave like 4 stars. I read it a couple years ago, and I did like it, but this one I was just expecting to kind of be okay, but this one I gave 5 stars. I loved this story. So this is about Audrey, and she has a really difficult relationship with her sister. Her sister has always kind of been treated kind of unfairly, and everybody has really always liked Audrey, and they didn't like her sister as much. Her sister has a lot of attitude, and she's just not a very nice person. And so, and her sister was also abused. So know that going into this, there are trigger warnings for child abuse, and I'm trying to think of what else. I would just look up trigger warnings for this book. And so anyway, something happens, and her sister is really violent towards her, and she ends up leaving. And something happens. I don't want to give too much away, but something happens, and she ends up staying at Daracot Castle, and she doesn't want anybody to know who she is because she's afraid they'll just send her back to her father and her sister, and she doesn't want to live there anymore. So Lord Daracot, his name is Edwin, puts her to work as like a maid in his household, and before he finds out who she is, and it just goes on from there. I really loved this story. Yeah, it was just really good. I haven't read very many fairy tale retellings, but I really like this series from Melanie Dickerson, and I'm hoping to read more by her. The next book I read is Molly's Surprise. And again, this is one of the American Girl books. That is the last book I read in the Molly series from American Girl. And that book I gave 4 stars. Really enjoyed that one. So this one is about Molly and her family again, and it is Christmas time. And in this story, Molly's father is overseas. He's a doctor in England, and he is, you know, helping soldiers during the war and everything. And the family is kind of being pessimistic about hearing from him for the holidays. They think he's not going to send gifts and all of that. But Molly is holding out hope because she knows her father is going to send something. And it's getting closer and closer to Christmas, and her family is kind of anticipating what he's going to send and if he's going to remember them because they know he's busy and everything. And so it's just a really cute story about like how the family celebrates during the holiday, and it just really puts you in kind of the holiday spirit, and you know, kind of that seeing Christmas through the eyes of a child. There's nothing like it. And so that's just, it was a really cool perspective to kind of see the anticipation of children at Christmas. And so I really, really enjoyed that story, and I gave it 4 stars if I didn't already say that. The last book that I read in February was Rain Rain by Anne M. Martin. I kind of got a jump start on middle grade March. I was just in the mood to go ahead and start a middle grade book. So this is one that I wanted to read last year and I never got to it. But I have heard Amanda at Book Lover Amanda talk about this book a lot. And so I was kind of curious and thought I would go ahead and pick it up. So Rain Rain is about Rose, and Rose has Asperger's syndrome, and she is obsessed with homonyms. And I have to admit, I did listen to this on audiobook, and I have to admit the homonym thing got on my nerves just a little bit, because it was very repetitive throughout the book, but I liked the overall story well enough to kind of overlook that. So this is about Rose, and you really get to see kind of what it's like for her to live with Asperger's syndrome. It talks a lot about her school and the people at school and how they react to her. And it talks about the special relationship she has with her uncle and her dog. And her uncle was just great. Like, I really liked his character. He was very patient with her, and he always had a way of talking to her that was, he was just very patient and understanding. And that was really nice to see, because her dad got kind of frustrated with her, which is easy to do, you know, as a parent, you know, of a child who has some behavior issues and stuff like that. I can understand, you know, getting frustrated about the situation and everything, but, you know, just keeping in mind that it's not her fault, and she can't help how she is. So, you know, it's a hard position to be in as a parent, because you want to do the best that you can for your child and you want to advocate for them. But sometimes, you know, it can be a struggle. So this was really interesting. I did not know a lot about Asperger's syndrome. So it was just really interesting to read this story. And I would highly recommend this. This I did give 4 stars, I believe. Yes, I did give this one 4 stars. So I really enjoyed this book, would highly recommend it. And that was my February reading. So again, I did get a lot more read than I thought I did. I'm happy with that. And yeah, so I am currently in the swing of middle grade March, which I'm sure a lot of people are. Oh, I wanted to also let you know the prompts that I fulfilled for this month. So for Morgan's Christian Fantasy Readathon, I was able to use Princess of a Night as the prompt for an original story. And I also used Castle of Refuge as a retelling to fit that prompt. So that was 2 prompts for this month for that readathon. For Oceana's Christian Romance Reading Challenge, I was able to use 1,000 Words by Mandy Blake for past fave. 1,000 Words. Well, I also used 1,000 Words for in a series. So that's this book right here. So I used this for past fave and in a series. For want to read, I did Just As I Am, which was in the same series. And then for floral cover, I did Never Say Goodbye. Of course, any of these books could have been used for any of those prompts. So yeah. So that was 3 books I was able to use for Oceana's Christian Romance Readathon. And I believe that was it. Oh, for Chantel's Read Your Bookshelf Challenge, I was able to use Princess of the Night since that was a short novella. I did that one for February because the prompt was size. And so that was a really short book. So I used that book for her reading challenge. And I did not get to do a prompt for Amanda's 2025 annual Southern Comfort Reading Challenge. I was going to do Meet Your Baker for a book with sweet food or drink on the cover, but I did not get to finish that book for February. I am continuing to read it in March, but I am physically reading that book, so it is taking me a bit longer to read that. So even though I started it in February, I'm probably not going to finish it until March. So I may just not count that one. Or if it counts, just let me know because it's been a bit of a struggle for me to read physically, but I do enjoy doing that. So, yeah, so we'll see where we end up for March. I have already read about 3 books in March, which I'm happy with so far, and planning on reading several middle grade books. So again, we'll see how we do. Let me know what you read in February, if you read anything good, if you have any new favorites, and I will see you next time. Bye.